There is a particular kind of devastation that comes with the end of love. It is not merely the loss of a person, but the collapse of a world you built together, brick by brick, promise by promise. When a marriage dissolves or a relationship fractures beyond repair, it feels as though the ground beneath your feet has given way. You wake up disoriented, reaching for someone who is no longer there, wondering who you are without them. The mirror reflects a stranger. The future you imagined, the life you counted on, has been reduced to rubble. You feel broken, hollowed out, stripped of purpose and meaning. Friends tell you time will heal, but time feels like an enemy when every minute stretches into an eternity of absence. This is the terrain of heartbreak, and it is brutal. It is raw. It is the kind of pain that makes you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. But here's what the ancient Stoics understood. Something that echoes across 2,000 years with startling clarity. Devastation is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of transformation. The Stoics, those philosophers who walked through wars, exiles, enslavements, and losses far greater than most of us will ever face, did not see suffering as something to escape or deny. They saw it as the forge in which character is hammered into shape. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled an empire while grappling with personal grief and constant warfare, wrote in his private journals that the impediment to action advances action, that what stands in the way becomes the way. This is not empty philosophy. This is a call to arms for the soul. When your relationship ends, when the person you loved walks away, or when you must walk away yourself, you are standing at a crossroads. One path leads to bitterness, resentment, despair, and the slow erosion of your spirit. The other path, the Stoic path, leads through pain towards strength, through loss toward self-mastery, through darkness toward an unshakable inner light. The first step on this path is the hardest: acceptance. Not the shallow acceptance that people speak of casually, but the deep, bone-level recognition that what has happened, and no amount of wishing, pleading, or bargaining will change it. The relationship is over, the marriage has ended. The person you loved has made their choice, or perhaps you have made yours. Epictetus, who was born a slave and knew what it meant to have no control over his circumstances, taught that we suffer not from events themselves, but from our judgments about them. When you resist reality, when you cling to what was or what should have been, you multiply your suffering tenfold. You chain yourself to a ghost, dragging the corpse of a dead relationship into every new day. The Stoic does not do this. The Stoic looks at the truth without flinching and says, "This is what is. Now, what will I do with it?" This is where the Stoic dichotomy of control becomes your most powerful tool. There are things within your control, and there are things beyond it. You cannot control whether your ex-partner still loves you. You cannot control whether they come back, whether they feel remorse, whether they realize what they lost. You cannot control the past or rewrite history. But you can control how you respond to this moment. You can control your thoughts, your actions, your choices, and your character. You can control whether you wake up tomorrow and take one step forward, or whether you stay curled in the wreckage. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius that a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a person perfected without trials. Your heartbreak is the friction. The question is whether you will allow it to polish you into something stronger, or whether you will let it grind you into dust in the immediate aftermath of loss. There is a profound loneliness, the silence where there used to be laughter, the empty space in the bed, the routines that no longer make sense. Many people flee from this solitude, desperate to fill the void with distractions, with new relationships, with anything that will numb the ache. But the Stoic understands that solitude is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It is in the quiet, in the stillness, you discover who you are beneath the roles you played, beneath the identity you borrowed from someone else's love. Marcus Aurelius would retreat into his own mind, reminding himself that nowhere can a person find a quieter or more untroubled refuge than in their own soul. This is not about isolating yourself from the world forever. This is about using this time to rebuild your foundation from the ground up, to reconnect with the core of who you are. separate from any relationship, any external validation, any borrowed sense of worth. Because here is a truth that cuts deep. If your sense of self was built entirely on being someone's partner, being loved, being chosen, then when that person leaves, your entire identity crumbles. The Stoics recognized this danger. They knew that attaching your inner peace to anything external, anything that can be taken away, is to build your house on sand. Epictetus taught his students to distinguish between what is truly theirs and what is merely on loan from fortune. Your ex-partner's love was never truly yours to control. Their affection, their commitment, their presence, these were gifts that could be withdrawn at any time. But your character, your virtue, your ability to live with integrity and strength, these are yours and yours alone. No one can take them from you unless you surrender them willingly. The work now is to reclaim your self-respect, not by proving something to your ex, not by making them regret their choice, but by proving to yourself that you are whole, complete, and valuable entirely on your own. This is where the real transformation begins. Pain, when channeled properly, becomes fuel. The Stoics were not about suppressing emotion or pretending that suffering does not hurt. They were about transmuting that energy into something constructive. You take the rage, the sadness, the sense of betrayal, and you pour it into discipline. You wake up when you do not want to wake up. You exercise when your body feels like lead. You work when your mind is clouded. You show up for yourself when no one else is watching. This is not about becoming numb or cold. This is about building a fortress of routine and purpose that no external circumstance can breach. Seneca wrote that difficulty is what wakes up the genius. Your divorce, your breakup, this is your difficulty. And within it lies the potential for a version of yourself you have never met, stronger, clearer, more grounded than you have ever been. One of the most insidious traps after a breakup is the trap of obsession. You replay conversations in your mind, searching for the moment it all went wrong. You check their social media, torturing yourself with images of them moving on. You fantasize about reconciliation, or darker still, about revenge. The Stoic philosophers understood this mental prison well. Marcus Aurelius counseled himself constantly to let go of what he could not control, to release the past, to stop wasting precious life energy on things that no longer serve. Cultivating emotional detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop letting those emotions control you. It means you observe your thoughts without being consumed by them. When the urge to reach out rises, you pause. You breathe. You remind yourself that dignity is more valuable than closure, that self-respect is more important than having the last word. You choose, consciously and deliberately, to let them go. Not because they deserve it, because you deserve peace. Choosing dignity over desperation is one of the most powerful acts of self-love you can perform. There is a temptation, especially in the early days, to beg, to plead, to convince them of your worth, to bargain for another chance. But the Stoic knows that true strength lies in restraint. Epictetus taught that if someone does not value you, that is information about them, not about you. You do not lower yourself to chase someone who has walked away. You do not sacrifice your self-respect for the illusion of connection. Instead, you stand tall. You walk forward with your head up. You show, through your actions and your silence, that you are not broken by their departure. This is not about pride in the toxic sense. This is about recognizing your inherent worth and refusing to diminish it by grasping at someone who no longer wants to hold on. As the days turn into weeks and the weeks into months, something remarkable begins to happen. The pain that once felt all-consuming starts to lose its grip. Not because you have forgotten, but because you have grown around it. You begin to rediscover parts of yourself that had been dormant during the relationship. Passions you set aside. Dreams you postponed. Interests you neglected. The Stoics believe that every human being has a unique role to play in the grand design of the universe, purpose that is theirs alone to fulfill. Your relationship was a chapter, but it was never your whole story. Now is the time to pick up the pen and start writing the next one. Maybe you throw yourself into your work with renewed focus. Maybe you traveled to places you always talked about but never visited. Maybe you learn a new skill, create something with your hands, or commit yourself to a cause larger than your own pain. The point is this: you reclaim your agency. You remember that your life is yours to shape, and no one else's absence can strip you of that power. There is a practice the Stoics employed called the view from above, where they would imagine themselves looking down on their lives from a great height, seeing their troubles in the context of the vast sweep of time and space. From this perspective, your breakup, as painful as it is, becomes just one moment in a much larger journey. Centuries from now, no one will remember this relationship. Even you, as you grow older, will look back on this time and see it differently. What feels like the end of the world today will one day be a turning point. A story you tell about how you discovered your strength. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that everything is ephemeral, both the one who remembers and the one who is remembered. This is not meant to diminish your pain. It is meant to free you from the illusion that this pain is permanent or that it defines you. You are not your heartbreak. You are the person who chose to rise from it. Gratitude might seem like an absurd concept. When you are still bleeding from the wounds of separation, how can you be grateful for betrayal, for abandonment, for the death of your dreams? But the Stoics practiced gratitude not for what felt good, but for what made them grow. Seneca wrote that difficulties strengthen the mind as labor strengthens the body. Your heartbreak has taught you something, even if you do not see it yet. It has shown you what you will tolerate and what you will not. It has revealed your capacity for resilience. It has forced you to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself, about relationships, about the nature of love and attachment. These are gifts, harsh and unwelcome perhaps, but gifts nonetheless. You can choose to be bitter about what you lost, or you can choose to be grateful for what you learned. The first choice keeps you chained to the past. The second sets you free. As you continue to walk this path, something shifts in your presence. People begin to notice a difference in you. There is a calmness, a centeredness, a quiet confidence that was not there before. This is not arrogance. This is the unmistakable aura of someone who has faced their darkest hour and emerged intact. The Stoics called this quality apatheia, not apathy in the modern sense, but a state of being where external events no longer disturb your inner peace. You have learned to find stability within yourself rather than seeking it in others. You no longer need someone else to validate your existence or affirm your worth. You have become, in the truest sense, self-sufficient. This does not mean you no longer desire companionship or love. It means you no longer need it to feel complete. And paradoxically, this is what makes you truly ready for real love when and if it comes again. Because you will enter it whole, not seeking someone to fill your emptiness, but sharing your fullness with another. The Stoic path is not about numbing yourself to emotion or pretending that loss does not hurt. It is about developing such strength of character that no external circumstance can shatter you. It is about building an inner citadel, as Marcus Aurelius called it, that remains standing no matter what storms rage outside. Your divorce or breakup was a storm, perhaps the worst you have faced, but you are still here. You are still breathing. You are still capable of choice, of growth, of creating meaning from chaos. The Stoics believed that virtue, living in accordance with reason and nature, was the only true good, and that everything else, health, wealth, relationships, were neither good nor bad in themselves, but simply materials to work with. Your relationship ending is one of these materials. What you build from it is entirely up to you. There will be days when the sadness returns unexpectedly, triggered by a song, a place, a memory. This is normal. Healing is not linear. But each time it happens, you will find that you recover a little faster, that the wave does not pull you under quite as deep. You are learning to swim in waters that once would have drowned you. You are proving to yourself, day by day, that you are stronger than you believed. Seneca wrote that fire is the test of gold, adversity of strong men. You are being tested, and you are passing. Not because you have stopped hurting, but because you have refused to let the hurt define you. The final truth the Stoics offer is this: Life is change, and impermanence is the nature of all things. The relationship you mourned was always going to end, either through separation or through death. Nothing lasts forever. This is not a cause for despair, but for freedom. If nothing is permanent, then no loss is final. The person you were in that relationship is gone, yes. But the person you are becoming is being born right now, in this moment, through this struggle. You are not the same person who entered that relationship. You are not even the same person who left it. You are constantly becoming, constantly evolving, and this heartbreak is simply part of that eternal process of transformation. So stand up. Brush off the dust of what was. Look forward with clear eyes. The Stoic way is not the easy way, but it is the way of strength, dignity, and unshakable peace. You walk forward not because you have forgotten, but because you have remembered who you are. You walk forward not to prove anything to anyone else, but to honor yourself. You walk forward because that is what human beings do when they refuse to be broken. You walk forward because you are not defined by who stayed or who left, but by how you chose to rise. And rise you will, not as someone who was never wounded, but as someone who turned their wounds into wisdom, their pain into power, their devastation into an unbreakable foundation. This is the Stoic way. This is your way. And the journey ahead, though uncertain, is yours to claim.